Good afternoon. I'm Avram Shira in Jerusalem. Welcome to Nahar Shalom, Shivat Mekubalim. And today we're going to do a piece of Kabbalah that's very interesting because it touches on the mystical aspect of walking and how we walk depending on the time, depending on the place. So we have a famous verse from the Talmud, Posim et Pisiyah Ketana. We take small steps. Now, this is from the Masechet Shabbat, so it's talking about taking small steps when we walk on Shabbat. Because remember, Shabbat is above time. Therefore, I'm not in a hurry. Therefore, I can walk slowly and enjoy myself a little bit. Ki me'techila hamalchut yiretzo zeranpin bebechinat toshit pasi'a lavar. And now the Rav jumps right into Rabbi Nachman, right into a piece of Kabbalah. He tells us that Malchut, the lowest sphera in the 10 sphirot of the tree of life, the sphere of kingship. Kingship receives power from everything above it. It is the landing zone of all the powers on the tree. It comes into Malchut. Malchut is the peh, the mouth, the ends of the fingers and the feet. And so Malchut is where energy from the highest level in your mind transfers down to your heart and out through your limbs and out through your mouth, your hands, and your feet. Malchut is the great revealer of God's will. Malchut Peh, the kingship of the mouth. The mouth is the place that we reveal what we think and what we know and what we don't know and what where we're holding in anything in life. And so that is an idea of Malchut, is this power of revelation, from the hidden to the revealed, from the spiritual into the physical, because speech itself is a physical phenomenon. And he tells us that this idea is connected to what are called the family of the Partsufim. There are 5 Partsufim, that means 5 faces of the godly persona, and these 5 faces correspond to the Abba and the Ima, the mother and the father, and the son and the daughter. And Zer Anpin is the small face of the large face called Arich Anpin, which is a concept way above the human soul in the upper realms. And this is idea of that the higher, of course, sends life force to the lower, from the inner to the outer, and so forth. We see the spreading of the power through the tree of life is happening to man. You are a microcosmic tree of life. I won't get more complicated than that, right? Now, so this power of the small face of man, it gives to kingship, which takes a step outside. In other words, when you go from your front door into the street, you're changing halachic zones. You're changing your inner life, going into the outer life, from the private to the public. Inside your house, hopefully, you have made God your king. But outside, not everybody's going to agree with you. Not that. Certainly not today. And the Zohar goes on to tell us about this, that so Adim Bo, when we walk slowly on Shabbat, as we said, we take small steps, then we are walking usually to or from the synagogue or to having a meal. And so on this holy Shabbat, we have 3 meals, and each meal is drawing more and more nourishment into the world for the following week. And so there's a connection between the power of giving over life force into the world and going out of yourself, out of your zone into the public zone. You're taking your energy out there. Right? We say, you're taking it out there. Well, you're taking your inner life into the public realm. And that is also what we do on Shabbat when we go for a walk. And we also have meals where we are expressing our gratitude and joy and celebration of Hashem, and all of that's happening on Shabbat. Perush, שאנו רוצים לתקנה, להגדלה, בחינת Assad. Now there is this idea of where here in Kabbalah, it's the idea of taking these smaller steps, of walking with ease, with grace, with dignity of Shabbat. It's a special day. On Shabbat, you see that people walk differently. You don't even have to know this halakha. If you see people on Shabbat and you pay attention, you see that they're not walking the way they normally walk. Okay, so that's part of the beauty of Shabbat. It's an intuitive understanding about the change of our inner clock and our inner relationship to time that happens on Shabbat. And this connects to the Shabbat also because we're trying to raise up the feminine aspect of the universe on Shabbat. Because the feminine is the malchut, the kingship, or we should say more accurately, the queenship, right? Because we're lifting up the feminine aspect of the tree of life. And so that's happening also on Shabbat. And she is that power that it attaches to the masculine and creates this unified field that we call the union of Zer and Malchut, or the masculine and the feminine in the cosmic realm. Now, part of the whole week process is that you have these two energies in the universe and in us, that on Shabbat they come around and face each other and unify together and go up and draw in a higher light of the Shabbat. And that process takes place every week of the year, and then it happens on a larger scale during the month of Tishrei, from Rosh Hashanah to Simchat Torah. It's happening then over a longer, more expanded period of time. And all of this unification of worlds is all about bringing God's light down from the highest spiritual realm into the physical. So remember that. Now, we have these three meals that are there to fix three aspects of the upper realms. Now, how do we see this? And because each time we have a meal, we have a blessing, of course, of Birkat HaMazon, grace over meals. And these three times, Perush, Tzarich, La'ir, and Netzach Hod Yesod, V'dezer Anpin. And then what happens then is we're bringing light down from the shoulder region, the torso, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet of the Tree of Life, to that light from this level, the shoulders and the heart, needs to go down into the two thighs, Netzach Hod and Yesod, and the organ of reproduction, because then what we're doing is we're spreading the light of the mind into the heart, and the light of both of those into the lower region of man, which of course is where our most of our problems are, right? We don't have to talk about that too much. So we're taking in the higher light of the soul, bringing it down to the heart, making a union of mind and heart, which is very powerful. When that happens, there's a new light is created that goes into the two thighs and the yesod, the foundation, which is the power of expression. Another idea of Malchut, the sexual expression, is a power of revelation, of course, the power of Hashem to create another human being, which is very important. So lights of the mind go into the heart, down into the lower part regions of the body, and that gives power to the Malchut to rise back up. So the masculine has to go down, unify with the feminine, and the two of them are lifted up. Now, Ki misham ikar binyana tikatam tatzir. And so we say that this is where the building of the tree happens, from the lower sphirot and then going up. And the explanation of this, al yedei ma'ash mitbarachim netzach hod yesod, ezer anpin, and by blessing with the level of the torso, we're bringing power down to the lower level of the malchut, v'ayidei mochin shehu mekableh kemuva. And all this is happening, he's saying it in the classic Zohar language, is all of it's going because the mental power is going into the body power. The mochin, hem, arba, and there's four mental powers: Keter, Chochma, Bina, Dat. And those four powers in the mind correspond to the right brain and the left brain, the inner brain, and the transcendent brain. And that transcendent brain is part of Keter, which is above a person, which we would call in modern language the Hila in Hebrew, or the Aura in English. Now, Chochmah, Bina, Dat, Chochmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, and then these mental powers, we said, come down into the sphirot of the body. And this is the idea of the shining from the lights of the 7 days. See, when you shine light from God into the world, you're pulling that light from the beginning of time. It is happening today in the here and now, but it's pulling light from the beginning of time because we say every day God is constantly renewing creation. This is the secret of why on a pair of tefillin that the men wear on their head, there's a shin with 3 arms, and then there's a shin with 4. And the 4 are the 4 powers of the mind entering the 3 powers of the torso. And all of that is happening when we do tefillin. We put on our tefillin. And this secret of the 4 going into the 3, this is causing unification again that brings light to the Malchut, to the kingship, which is the power to the mind, power to the hands, power to the mouth, power to the feet, to operate in this world with divine intention. So this idea of walking on Shabbat, Pesiah Ketana, right, walking that gives you the time to think about these high ideas. And if you notice, during the week, people are almost running. Sometimes they are running, right, during the weekday, because we're not connected to these higher lights of Shabbat. When we get those lights on Friday evening, then we should go through a personal transformation, which is not hard to achieve. We just have to keep Shabbat. Then you get the ease, the peace, the grace to go slowly and with confidence into your day of Shabbat. And that gives a place to lift, to unify with the feminine power of the universe and lift it up. And my friends, lifting up the feminine power of the universe is the repair of the human race. You can quote me on that one. Have a great week. We'll see you again. Take care.